A crime victim suffers a great trauma upon being victimized. He needs understanding, he needs help, he needs counseling, and he may need resources. And this is what we try to supply for him.
Crime undermines the quality of life in our communities, resulting in immense physical and emotional injury, as well as disabling financial hardship. While a primary focus of the criminal justice system is on the apprehension and punishment of offenders, there also remains the special problems and needs of crime victims. George Groby Jr. is the commissioner of the New York State Crime Victims Board in Buffalo.
We've seen established in police departments and district attorneys' offices throughout the state special programs to deal directly with victims and their problems. This year, the federal government has stepped in with a $100 million fund that was created by fines, and these funds are to be distributed throughout the country to the states with eligible programs to aid victims' compensation and victim witness assistance programs. New York is going to get about $6.5 million this year, and this agency will administer those funds.
Many victims of crimes who are injured or suffer some sort of harm have the right to sue their attackers for damages, but often find their perpetrators with no resources to pay a judgment. However, some prisoners may acquire substantial assets while behind bars, unknown to their victims. And Assemblyman William Hoyt is sponsoring a bill to get some of those monies for the victims.
What we did in the legislature was to say that if a prisoner should suddenly become rich because of a movie contract or the sale of a book on the crime that caused him to go to prison, that the victims of that crime could share in his newly found wealth.
How does the statute of limitations enter the picture?
That's the key to it. It is an expansion of the statute of limitations to 5 years. The clock starts ticking after the prisoner has not just filed his suit in court, but has won his suit and has received some money.
I think it's an exciting concept. It's an expansion of an existing law. This gives the victims an opportunity to bring their actions in civil courts, get judgments, and then there's a fund out of which they can collect their judgments. And it's a couple of $1 million a year. People in Attica that are hurt because of faulty machinery can sue the state, and they get recoveries from it.
The bill that I'm talking about would activate the Crime Victims Compensation Board to make note in newspapers around the state in a timely way that prisoner so-and-so in Attica or in another prison has received money as a consequence of a lawsuit, and that anyone who is a true and real victim of that person may bring a suit to recover this money.
Various neighborhood groups and county agencies are available to offer supportive services to victims and witnesses of crimes, and they set up shop to make the public aware of their programs. Lorraine Mangan is the project director of one such neighborhood information center.
The New York State Crime Victims Board has been trying to help victims throughout New York State with monetary help. If they had no medical insurance and they were injured, then Crime Victims Board would assist them. In doing this, they also decided to sponsor programs throughout the state, which they have 32, which will assist crime victims in filling out forms, going down to court, assisting them at the police station, family court, city court. Whatever a victim needs, we try to provide this type of service.
What victims benefit from these monies, and how do they qualify to receive them?
Filing a claim and being an innocent victim of a crime with needs, whether they need counseling, whether they have medical bills that haven't been paid, whether they've lost their jobs, whether victims of families have lost their supporter. We'll go in and supply that help and support for them.
At the precincts, you have a liaison officer, which has been very beneficial as far as getting the program known to the people in the community, because actually the victim sees the police at first, and then through there they will do a referral to the different agencies.
Under our Victim Standards Act, a police department or a district attorney is supposed to inform a victim of the existence of the availability of compensation and be sure they understand where to go. He's supposed to tell them where he can go for counseling services or other needs that he has. He's supposed to supply a separate waiting room, an area apart from where perpetrators might be gathering or their friends when they go to court to testify. He's supposed to tell them about the status of his case and whether there's plea bargaining going on. A victim now in this state has an absolute right when a criminal is sentenced to participate in that sentencing, to give the judge an impact statement. All these are things that grew out of the drive by this board and other agencies to make the system aware of the rights of victims and the problems.
The satisfaction that a victim might get from a person receiving a sentence at Attica of 7 or 8 years simply isn't enough. That doesn't get you back your lost time from a job if you were injured, doesn't pay your hospital bills, doesn't deal with pain and suffering. This suit is an attempt to broaden that, and it's an attempt to, as prisoners are successful in gaining their own monies, to share the wealth.